Joining me to discuss this humanitarian crisis is Lynn Hastings. She's the United Nations Humanitarian Coordinator for the occupied Palestinian territory. Lynn, thanks for being with us. Tell me what you have seen, where you have been, and what you have been witnessing. I understand that you have spent time at this Rafah crossing, which is the crossing into Egypt that we are talking about on a daily basis.
Yes, thanks very much. I haven't been able to get into Gaza yet, but yes, indeed, in terms of the Rafah crossing, that is the crossing where trucks are trying to get in to be able to deliver humanitarian assistance. I do just want to back up a little bit and give a bit of an overview here. We are calling for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. We are calling for the immediate release of all the hostages that are in Gaza. Aid is unconditional, and that means an unconditional release of the hostages and an unconditional ability to deliver assistance throughout Gaza. So as I've seen the pictures that you've just shown here, and in my conversations with either colleagues or others, for example, doctors, administrators of hospitals, etc., we are seeing really something unprecedented. In addition to the over 100 UN staff that have been killed, we are seeing unprecedented numbers of people being injured and killed, of course, throughout Gaza at the moment. There has been a lot of speculation as to whether or not there is enough going in to Gaza or not. Just to put things into context again, before October 7th of this year, there were 450 trucks going in a day to Gaza, 50 additional for fuel. The reason why that's important is because 450 trucks a day of food and other commodities was subject to the ongoing blockade or strict closure regime that Gaza has been subject to ever since Hamas took over in 2007. So 450 trucks a day beforehand. Now we're looking at about an average of 40 trucks a day since the first day the commodities started coming back in. And no fuel has gone in since October 7th, which of course means hospitals, water desalination plants, wastewater treatment plants are all stopping their operations.
Let me ask you, you've mentioned a few things that are interesting. There's an impression that some have that humanitarian workers who are calling for a ceasefire are not looking at the whole picture. But you have said that not only do you want a ceasefire, but you want the release of all the hostages. There are calls for fuel, but the allegation is that Hamas uses the fuel that should be intended for civilian and medical purposes. What if that's true? How does that affect your thinking, if at all?
Yeah. So I certainly, just with respect to the hostages, of course, again, unconditional release. I know that there's allegations of Hamas having fuel. I can't speak to that precisely. I think what you're talking about specifically might have been that there was fuel at this crossing on October 7th. And the United Nations Refugee Agency for the Palestinians was able to access it with full coordination with the government of Israel. 200,000 liters every couple of days, we were able to get an agreement with the government of Israel that we could access it. And we are very confident that all of that fuel has been used by this refugee agency and that the fuel has been used our humanitarian operations together with hospitals, desalination plants, and wastewater treatment plants. Again, I can't speak to whether or not Hamas has its own storage of fuel, but I can say that we are confident that the fuel we are using has been distributed to and for humanitarian purposes.
There's always an issue in things like this that after watching the imagery that we've seen for a few days and a few weeks, the news cycle sort of moves on and people continue to die. What's your concern? While the world's attention is still on this issue, obviously you have identified, in a few moments I'll be speaking to a family member of a hostage. The hostage matter is of primary importance to the world. On the Gaza side, what's of primary importance? What has to happen? And if it doesn't happen, what will happen to the people of Gaza?
Yeah. So right now we are concerned about a second, let's call it an operation down into the south. And we have already been saying that there's nowhere safe to go, because in addition to airstrikes, safety is dependent on other types of conditions, as I've said, access to clean drinking water, access to food, those sorts of things. So we are very, very concerned that there is going to be a next operation in the south, which will leave people in Gaza, again, literally nowhere to go. We are hearing calls from the government of Israel that perhaps there might be a so-called safe zone or humanitarian zone set up on the coast. And I do just want to make it clear, given the UN's experience in these sorts of areas that are sometimes set up in the middle of conflicts, that safe zones are only safe if there's an agreement between all parties. And to my knowledge, this announcement or declaration that there might be a safe zone on the coast has only been announced by the government of Israel. In addition, these types of zones, humanitarians need to be able to deliver there, but anywhere else where there are people in need. So I just wanted to make that clear to your viewers. And of course, the ultimate concern is what is going to be the future for Gaza, but also the relationship between Palestinians and Israel and how both communities are going to recover from this.
This is a complex issue, but thanks to people like you who are on the ground dealing with the immediate needs while the rest of the world tries to figure out what the longer-term solutions are going to be. Lynn Hastings, we appreciate that. Thanks to you and all the other members of the United Nations who are involved in this. And I'm sorry for the loss of all of your colleagues. It has been a tremendous loss for the United Nations in the last 5 weeks. Lynn Hastings is a humanitarian coordinator for the occupied Palestinian territory at the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs.